Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you today. Today's going to be a basketball video talking about my good old Sacramento Kings. Honestly, yesterday it was pitched to me from my good buddy Troy that I talk about in a lot of my videos, talking about St. Louis Rams and being a Kings fan and things like that. He offered, that we go to the Kings draft party on Thursday, and I was really excited about that. I was making jokes. Honestly, the rumor was started last week that the Kings, with the number 6 pick in the draft, would trade it to Denver for Ty Lawson, and that's really the one thing that I want to help this team. I think that Lawson's going to help anybody out of the draft. I don't watch college basketball as much as I used to, so I don't really know a lot of the guys coming into the draft, and I believe a lot about the hype that Sports Center, ESPN, Fox Sports, and articles that I read on Twitter and things like that. I tend to believe the hype. If people write about it, it must be true. And I remember as I was a kid watching like the 93, 94, 95 draft, I felt like I knew every single player that was getting drafted, and knew how they were going to help every single team. And I think that's just a part of growing older and, not having a chance to watch as much sports and barely getting a chance to watch college basketball at all. So it is what it is. But I really don't know a lot of the people that are involved in this draft, and I thought that was mainly the one rumor. Troy keeps telling me to hold out, not to make the Lawson deal, that it's not going to help us as much, basically saying that if you trade Lawson, basically you're going to bring him onto the team. He has a $6 million contract, and we have Karl-Anthony right now, who's a young guy. He's probably not as good as Lawson is. Lawson's probably better, but when it comes down to it and you look at the numbers, Lawson isn't $3 million a year better than Karl-Anthony, so maybe it'd be better to hold on to our team the way it is and maybe use that $3 million to improve our team in another matter. But it seems like in the last 24 hours, this team, the Sacramento Kings, is on a collision course to blow itself up. Whether if you see deals of the Kings trying to trade Rudy Gay in order to bring on Rajon Rondo, and you bring on Rajon Rondo, it's going to be for a one-year deal, trying to improve his offer for 2016, because the last season did not go for him that well. When he was playing with Dallas, he just wasn't that big of a star. He ended up basically being kicked off of the team at the end of the season, and it just was anarchy there. And to sign a guy to a one-year deal, you're not going to have to pay him that much. Maybe he'll have a superb year, but basically you're already putting the story out there that you're trying to help this guy get a better offer next year to leave us and go somewhere else. I can understand if you wanted to sign Rajon Rondo to a multi-year deal, a little bit of a lower cost, because you're trying to help him recreate his career. But I don't want to be the stepping ground for somebody to come here for a year to leave us to go somewhere else, because at the end of the year you might have made us better for 1 year, but we're just left here holding the bag next year with nothing in it. Rudy Gay is a superb player, has come here and has really helped turn this team around. But now the rumors are coming out starting yesterday about Demarcus Cousins. I remember I got off work, I came to the truck, and I had to call into work to talk to my buddy that I had just left. I literally walked away from him a minute and a half earlier, and my heart had sank to my chest about this trade of Demarcus Cousins involving the Orlando Magic and the Los Angeles Lakers. And it just was a clusterfuck of a deal with basically, players being flip-flopped between the Lakers, the Magic, and us. And it seemed like, we got some later picks down the road, but it seemed like we were just moving up one slot in the draft. And I know a lot of times you do multiplayer, trades, not everybody's going to come out on the best end, but it seems like we were giving up our best player in Demarcus Cousins and our number 6 pick in order to just move up to the number 5 pick. And like I said earlier, I don't really see anybody really blowing people away. People really want to see this guy from Kentucky go number 1, and I believe it's a guy named Okafor going number 2. Neither of those guys are going to fall to number 5. So why are we giving up Demarcus Cousins? The story's been popping out basically of, George Karl is pushing for ownership to try and trade Demarcus Cousins. Basically the owner, Vivek, is the one guy stepping in saying that he's not letting, Demarcus Cousins walk away from this team. I know that, we had, what the hell was that dude's name? Crap. We had the guy that won the Rookie of the Year a few years ago, and that was sort of like a big deal for the city of Sacramento to actually have a player win an award and sort of put us on the map. and his deal came to an end, and he just walked away to join the he's either on the Pelicans or he's on the Hornets, one or the other. Those teams with Charlotte and New Orleans, the Charlotte team moved there and then the other one moved there, and it just, I still get confused on who's on whose team. It's just confusing to me, but that was a big deal. But for us to lose one of our best players again, when these last few years we've been trying to push to get better, and we thought we were going to lose the Kings, and now that we were able to keep them, now we finally got this new arena being built, and the team's going to shits. We're about to throw a bomb in there. It was a big deal when George Karl came to coach the Sacramento Kings. It seemed like he was coming here and he was going to be on the up and up, and there was a little bit of wishy-washy feelings, basically thinking that maybe Cousins and Karl wouldn't be able to get along. Demarcus Cousins really had his head in the game last season. He basically had a sign on his locker trying to keep his technicals down and not let himself take himself out of games, and he really became the team captain, a team leader, the guy that was really pushing people along, and he's our best player on our team. It does not make any sense to move him away from this team. I believe that he is one of the best players in the game. He definitely is one of the best players at his position. He is a game changer. The Sacramento Kings without Demarcus Cousins does not make any sense to me whatsoever. There's a story out today that basically it says George Karl is trying to bring Lawson, Chandler, and Fareed from the Nuggets to the Kings in a trade for Cousins. If George Karl wanted to coach the Nuggets again, he should have held out for the Nuggets job. The Nuggets were a damn good team, with or without Karl-Anthony. Basically, I look at the Nuggets, the way they fired George Karl is the same way, the Sacramento Kings made one of their biggest mistakes in firing Adelman. They fired Adelman for the one thing is they were tired of making the playoffs and not being able to advance and win the finals. So they sort of looked at the team as, this is as good as we're going to be. We need to try and get better. Basically, they fired Adelman. They brought in Musselman. And, since then, we've been dying just to try and get a number 8 spot to try and get into the playoffs again. The Kings have just really fallen off the map. And, we keep making strides to try and get better. And it's just like we're running on ice. We're not getting anywhere. If the Kings trade Demarcus Cousins, I said it pretty easy yesterday, but now that I'm trying to say it on video, it's harder. The Sacramento Kings are the team I've loved since I was a kid. It's the one franchise that's been in Sacramento, and even though they never really won, even though it was like Mitch Richmond, Lionel Simmons, Walt Williams, Dwayne Coswell, Bobby Hurley, Spud Webb, these teams that were built like this, they had my heart because they were the guys that played in my hometown, and I just don't know if I could support this team anymore because people keep on trying to push that next year's going to be better, The Kings signed to stay in Sacramento, and then the ownership steps in and say they're going to build a great player, and we don't sign any free agents. And last year we had the horrible free agency where we tried to go after Iguodala, who ended up being the Finals MVP. And I don't think if he comes here we go to the NBA Finals, but the Kings had a very bitter disagreement with him, where basically the Kings made an offer to him and they basically thought that they were being played, so they pulled their offer. And Iguodala ended up going to Golden State, and we ended up being left with nothing yet once again. Sacramento's never really been able to bring in a high-profile free agent. Probably the biggest one we've ever signed is Vlade Divac. And when we brought him in, I honestly felt like, they just signed somebody to sign him, and then he ended up being like the big heart of our team, the one that really was pumping the blood through our team, being the player that really held everything together with Peja and Weber and Bibby. We had a damn good team, and there's people in this town who still don't understand why that team isn't still together, and it boggles my mind about how they think they're Kings fans, but they still urge to the past. The past is gone. The Kings got rid of all those guys at the right time. By the time they had left Sacramento, they all were out of the league within a few years, minus Turkoglu, who's still in the league now today, but he's not performing the way that he was. And if he did come to the Kings, it'd be like Corliss Williamson when he came back here for a second run. It'd be nice to see him on the team, but he's not really going to be helping us win anything. The Kings have a lot to do. I know this is NBA draft time. There's always a lot of rumors coming out about the NBA draft, but it really right now almost seems like this team is in disarray. with a coach, with a team that he doesn't want to coach, and players who don't want to play for the coach. And this team needs to come together and win for the city of Sacramento. Put a lot of money into bringing them the new Golden One Arena is what it's going to be called, in the heart of Sacramento, bringing fans in and really trying to bring a championship to Sacramento. The one thing that I was thinking when I was watching the Golden State parade was that we should have had a parade by now, damn it. I mean, I just was mad that Golden State got one before us. Golden State was always a team that I looked at that, had, draft picks, and they were blowing them on players where they were just a collection of talent instead of actually building an actual team. And that's almost what I think the Sacramento Kings is turning into now these days. There's rumors right now about trading the Great White Hype that came from Michigan, who is a lot like the last Great White Hype that we had, that we just don't let him play. And that's just the reason why he's not producing for us. You draft the shooter and you don't let the shooter shoot. It never makes any sense. Rudy Gay's got rumors about him. You got rumors about Demarcus Cousins. It seems like right now they would trade, the guy who, puts the basketballs on the rack for the guys to practice. It seems like nobody's safe on this team. And the fans deserve to know who's going to be on this damn team. And so somebody needs to sit these guys down in a room and work it out. Rudy Gay, Demarcus Cousins, and George Karl is the great foundation of a great team. Somehow you get one player in here, I think you can make the playoffs and see how great this team really is. And that's all Sacramento's been looking for the last few years.